Welcome, the learner, and welcome to you too. We're diving deep today into the love and light of the one infinite creator, of course.
Indeed, in the love and light. Today we're looking closely at session 96 of the Law of One.
That's right, channeled September 9th, 1982. And our mission, as always, is to unpack this session, question by question.
We want to pull out those beautiful insights, offer some positive understanding, and, make it clear without being overwhelming.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. Question 96.1, the first one. It's the usual check-in, asking about the instrument's condition.
Right. And Ray's response is quite specific. They mention a significantly greater physical energy deficit compared to the last session.
Okay, deficit. And also a substantive lessening of vital energies. What's the difference there, do you think?
Well, a physical energy deficit might be, like being physically tired, drained. But vital energies, that sounds deeper, maybe more like the core life force.
Ah, like the underlying animation.
Sort of. But interestingly, Brett does say the mental and emotional energies are still fine for the contact, within the normal range.
Hmm. So physically and vitally drained, but mentally okay. That sets the stage for the next question, 96.2, which asks why? Why the energy decrease?
And right away, you see Rez's carefulness about free will. They hesitate a bit, saying they need to check the instrument's thoughts first so they don't interfere.
That respect for free will is always front and center, isn't it?
Always. But then they do go on, because the instrument had apparently been thinking about this already, processing the catalyst, so Rev feels okay explaining.
And the explanation is, well, it's quite involved. It centers on the instrument's reaction to the new house,
Yeah,
right?
it's fascinating. Ra talks about the instrument's usual way of handling catalyst, analyzing it for service.
Yeah.
But this time, encountering these elementals and astral beings in the house.
Elementals and astral beings. Okay.
Yeah, sort of energetic presences maybe. Perceiving these triggered something different, a conflict
What kind of conflict?
between the desire to serve, get the house ready, and this almost instinctive negative reaction to what she was sensing there.
So, like, wanting to help, but feeling repulsed at the same time?
Precisely. And Ross says this internal division was made worse by the ongoing feeling of, well, lack of control over the whole situation.
That makes sense. Feeling pulled in two directions and powerless.
Yeah,
That's draining.
definitely. And Ra adds a real interesting point. If the physical cleansing of the house had started sooner, this sort of mental opening might have been avoided.
Wow. So taking physical action could have grounded her, maybe? Prevented the opening?
That's what it sounds like. It suggested a real link between doing and being. But because that didn't happen, and despite communication efforts within the group, Ross says there wasn't enough Blu-ray work done.
Blu-ray. That's the throat chakra. Communication, understanding truth.
Right. So the understanding wasn't fully there, and this led to a rare opening for the instrument, a vulnerability.
And that's when the entity came through. The one which greets you, as Ra puts it.
Yes. And Ra calls it the most powerful, purely magical manifestation they'd encountered with the group so far. It was serious.
Sounds intense.
Extremely. Ra points out that the instrument's lack of hysteria was crucial. Apparently, there was a difficulty breathing, and if panic had taken over, well, Ra implies it could have been fatal, suffocation.
Goodness. That really highlights her inner strength.
It really does, her perseverance despite the fear.
So this whole situation shows this complex web, mental state, the environment, these unseen forces. It makes you think about our own inner conflicts, doesn't it? How they might affect us.
Absolutely. Which leads nicely into 96.3, where Dawn asks, okay, is this threat still around? What should we do?
And the answer?
Thankfully, Ra gives clear reassurance. No, the threat is gone.
Oh, good. Why?
Because of the communication.
Yeah.
The scribe and the questioner talking about it, seeking to understand. That act itself apparently closed the opening. It allowed the instrument to start processing the experience, the catalyst.
That's actually quite powerful. Communication and support, resolving something that seems so metaphysical. A great takeaway for us, the learner.
Definitely. The power of connection.
Okay, so question 96.4 shifts gears a bit. Back to the practical side of the new house. Painting, cleaning, carpets. Getting it to acceptable limits for their work.
And Ray's response is, again, very grounded in free will.
Right.
They basically say, look, your preference is the only thing that matters for our contact.
So Ray doesn't actually need the house to be perfect.
It seems not. Ray adds that the house has already received a small blessing just by the group being there, and that daily love, harmony, thanksgiving, that will continue to transform this space.
That's a lovely thought. What about the actual cleaning, though?
Ray acknowledges physical cleanliness is important, yeah.
Mm.
Be thorough. But they make a distinction between regular dirt and lower astral entities that might reside within it. They refer back to previous instructions on dealing with sentient beings.
Right, so there's physical cleaning, and then there's potentially energetic clearing, too.
Exactly. And then Raya uses this beautiful analogy, comparing striving for physical spotlessness to striving for oneness with the Creator.
Oh, how so?
They say in both cases, it's the intention, the thoroughness of the attempt that's appreciated. The gap between where you are and the goal. Kind of unimportant.
I like that. It's the effort and the heart you put into it that counts, not achieving some impossible perfection. Very encouraging.
Very. Okay, 96.5 is about the order of cleaning. Paint first, then clean, move furniture, then salt and garlic. Is that the best sequence?
What does Ross say?
Pretty much any sequence that gets the job done thoroughly is fine. But Raw adds a key point about thresholds. The limen, they call it.
Limen, like a boundary or threshold.
Exactly. Ra says thresholds shouldn't be crossed during the cleansing process itself. That's a stricture the group needs to consider.
Okay, so sequence doesn't matter much, but respect the boundaries while you're actually doing the cleansing. Got it. Now, 96.6 introduces a bit of a mystery. An odd sound on the tape recorder.
Yeah, during an attempt to record singing, Don asks if it was maybe a greeting from a, fifth density negative friend.
Was it?
Nope. Raz's answer is surprisingly straightforward to the malfunction of the electronic machine.
Huh. Really? Okay, so that leads to 96.7 and 96.8. Well, did a negative entity cause the malfunction then?
Raz says no again. Very clear. They give two causes. One, the instrument herself has a strong effect on electronics. Maybe someone else should operate the recorder.
Okay, like an energetic interference.
Right.
And the second cause?
Much simpler. The tape probably just caught on some nearby buttons when play was pressed. Physical interference.
So it could just be clumsy fingers and sensitive energy fields. It's almost funny, the mundane mixed with the metaphysical.
It is. It keeps things grounded, perhaps.
Which brings us to 96.9 and 96.1. Don is amazed. Ra knows these little details, like the tape catching. How do they get this info? By moving in time-space.
And Ra confirms, yes, that's exactly how. By inspecting the situation in time-space. They did add that the end of Don's question wasn't totally clear to them, but the core idea was right.
Wow. Just casually popping back to observe a tape recorder issue. The implications of that ability are quite profound.
Absolutely. Then, 96.1, a shift back to the physical world. A hawk landed near the kitchen window. Was that significant?
And Ra says,
Yes, it was significant. And then Ra makes that interesting comment.
oh yeah.
That their confirmations often relate to things the questioner, deep down, already knows. It points towards, intuitive hits being validated.
So we often have the answers, or at least the inkling, already inside us. That's powerful.
It is. Which leads into 96.1, 2, and 13, digging into the mechanics of that hawk message. Don connects it to tarot. Birds as messengers. Maybe from the Creator, allowed by free will because the bird came so close.
He's trying to figure out how it works.
Exactly. But Ra declines to comment specifically on that interpretation.
Ah, the law of confusion again.
Precisely. Ray explains. They can confirm something known, but if the subjective meaning someone assigns is unclear, or if the message isn't quite grasped yet, Ray has to stay silent to avoid influencing free will or adding confusion.
Right. They can't interpret our signs for us, essentially, even if they hint at a link, like with Tarot Card 3 here.
They allude to it, but can't outright confirm Don's specific connection in this case. It respects our process of discovery.
Understandable, even if you're super curious about how it all works. Okay, 96.14, back to practicalities. Blessing the water for the salt cleanse. How much water? What kind of blessing?
Ra gives a few options for the blessing. Use one they gave before, use one from the instrument's own tradition, Catholic holy water gets a mention, or simply use intention.
So the intention is the key ingredient, really.
That's what Ra emphasizes. As for quantity, just enough to dampen a good portion of the salt. Not soak it. It's not a physical process in that way. It's about the ideal energetic state, with water enabling the salt.
Again, intention over physical mechanics, a recurring theme.
Definitely. Then we get into a whole section, 96.15 to 96.21, on redrawing the tarot cards, trying to strip away later editions and get back to something more original.
Right, starting with card 1, the Magician. The plan is to remove letters, the star, the wand, and figure out how the sphere should be held.
And Ra says, yeah, removing letters is fine. Removing stars is fine for all cards. Removing the wand here is appropriate. And the sphere. held by thumb, index, and second finger.
Okay, specific guidance there.
But then Ra adds a crucial point, a completely pure deck. Probably impossible,
Why is that?
because there were already cultural distortions and perspectives baked in when the images were first created.
Hmm.
Removing astrological stuff is good, but you can't erase all distortion, and maybe it's not that important anyway.
Interesting. Perfection isn't the goal. Maybe understanding the core concept is. Okay, card 2, High Priestess. Remove letters, stars, and replace a symbol that looks like a crux ansata with an actual one.
Ra asks for a bit of clarification first. The question was maybe a little unclear initially, but once clarified, yes, Ra confirms. Replacing the symbol with a proper crux ansata is correct.
Got it. Then, still on card 2, the headwear is confusing, Dawn. What should it look like?
Here, Ra doesn't give a straight answer. They suggest the student should ponder it.
Ponder it. Why?
Ra says while it's astrological, it's not totally unacceptable if you view it with a certain feeling, so the student can choose. Remove it or name its meaning to actually enhance the card's concept.
So, leaving room for personal interpretation and intuition again.
Exactly. Then, 96.19, Dawn asks for the exact dimensions, ratios, shape of the crux ansata.
And Ra's answer.
Simple no.
Direct. Okay, moving to card 3, the Empress. Remove letters, stars, and these little cups around the outside of the rays representing the sun.
Ra confirms. Yes, that's correct.
Straightforward. And card 4, the Emperor. Remove letters, stars, replace the wand or scepter with a sphere.
Here, Ra says it's a matter of choice. That particular scepter, though astrological, might have some relevance to the original concept, so it's up to the group.
Not a definite yes or no.
Right. And just then, Ra notes the instrument is having slight breathing difficulty from the earlier incident, asks for retained energy, and says they'll take just one more query.
Winding down.
But before the final question, Ra circles back to the crux ansata quickly. Says it's drawn many ways. The group needs to decide which depiction fits. Mentions the Great Pyramid if they want a puzzle, but Ra won't solve it. The general meaning is unchanged.
Layers upon layers, even in the practical stuff. So the final question, 96.22. What can be done to help the instrument's comfort and the contact?
Ra recommends continuing with harmony, communication, praise, thanksgiving within the group. Good vibes, basically.
Makes sense. Anything specific for the instrument?
Yes. Suggest you refrain from speaking much for a day or two. Also, avoid activities like running that cause rapid breathing. The after effect probably won't last long, but caution is advised. There's mention of swollen blood vessels in the head and a streptococcal infection, so care is needed to avoid longer-term issues from that intense experience.
Okay, so rest and care are important.
Definitely. But Ra ends on a positive note. All is well. We find the alignments satisfactory.
That's reassuring. A very comprehensive session, really covering everything from deep energetic encounters to house cleaning and tarot details.
It truly is. It highlights that interplay of mind, body, spirit, environment. The power of intention, the nuances of symbols, it's all connected, isn't it?
It really is. And maybe a thought for you, the learner, to take away is just that. How much do your own internal states, your perceptions, influence how you interact with reality, both the seen and the unseen parts? Ra's discussion about the instrument really gives us food for thought there.
A provocative thought indeed. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite creator.
Adonai, namaste. I am you and you are me.